Here are 7 musical things you can do if you don't want to sit down and compose a piece of music, or indeed if you do want to compose a piece of music but the inspiration is just not there. Try one of these. Now, they are not specifically designed to help inspiration flow. They are just alternative musical things you can do which will help you going forward. And if some of them do provide a spark of inspiration, well, all to the good. Okay, number 1, the One Synth challenge. Yes, this is composing, but I think there's a massive difference between doing this and doing what you probably do ordinarily. If you're anything like me, you are swamped by sounds and soft synths and even hardware synths, and you can often get analysis paralysis. You've got so much choice, your brain doesn't know what to do with it all. By limiting yourself to just one synth, you may find paradoxically perhaps that this opens up a whole new world of possibilities because you are not swamped by a plethora of choices. So analysis paralysis out of the window. You may well find that this rekindles or re-sparks your inspiration. Quite often when I start a piece, I will use just one synth to get going and then build it from there. But this is a fun thing to try if you want to do some composing but don't want to use your traditional usual method. Next, number 2, synthesize a classical piece of music. With this, you probably won't have to do any composing, perhaps just a little bit of arrangement or rearrangement. What you have to do is to select sounds and do a mix. If you don't normally listen to much classical music, I think you're probably missing out. There are thousands of absolutely brilliant tunes in the classical music repertoire. And the vast majority of these, believe it or not, are available in free MIDI file format. I shall leave a link to some sources of MIDI files in the description. So you don't have to actually perform any of these classical pieces if you don't want to, or perhaps your chops aren't quite up to it. Classical music can be quite demanding. But you can use these MIDI files and arrange them for Synthesizer. Now, I've done a few of these. I shall leave links to the full pieces in the description, but just as a taster, here's one. It's Bach's Badenary for flute, arranged totally with flutes from the Roland JD-08. Here's another one. It's Eric Satie's Gymnopedes. I think that's how you pronounce it. I actually created this way back in the 90s. And if you have a sense of fun and enjoy a good parody, you might want to try something like this.
Filled with beans and spicy rice.
Next, number 3, sound design. Now, you do not have to be a programmer or a sound designer in order to design sounds. If you know the basics of synthesis, you can probably go to most soft synths and tweak a few parameters and see what happens. Hardware synths, I think, are probably easier to create sounds on, particularly if they have a lot of controls and you are not menu diving all over the place. You can play a sound, tweak some dials, turn some knobs and see what happens. So even if you are just experimenting randomly. This is good fun, and if you come up with any sounds you like, you can save them and use them in future projects. And if none of that parameter juggling appeals to you, try a soft synth with a random function. These are also great fun, and you just never know what you might come up with. This is Native Instruments Playbox, which actually produces very nice and interesting sounds on each click of the dice. If you are enjoying this video, perhaps you would like to consider subscribing to the channel, ringing the bell. Thank you, so you get informed of new videos as soon as I release them, and clicking the big thumb would be a big help as well. It's all about synths and synthesizers and electronic music and lovely stuff like that. Next, number 4, some of your favourite sounds. Now, the further and further you get on your musical journey, the more and more synths you seem to accumulate. I have tens upon tens of thousands of presets in all the soft synths I have. As well as making it difficult to find the sounds that you really do want, it can also encourage analysis paralysis. So one interesting, useful and very practical thing you can do if you have a lot of sounds is to favourite the ones that you really like. You probably play some presets on some of your instruments and think, well, I'm just never going to use that. And being able to exclude those from the list can save you a lot of time, as well as highlighting the ones that you like and probably would use at some point. This doesn't take a lot of brain work or a lot of effort, but you are doing something which is incredibly practical and which you will thank yourself for further down the line when you are looking for sounds. Next, number 5. Revisit an unfinished project and of course see if you can finish it. If you're anything like me, your hard drive will be littered with musical ideas and half-finished projects. Many of these I seem to abandon when I get another idea for another project and get sidetracked onto that one. So this is more a question of not being able to retain focus and just getting so excited and distracted by another idea. So as you've already had the spark of inspiration to start the piece, if you revisit it, perhaps the inspiration will be rekindled. In any event, you have a head start in creating or at least finishing a project. And I think it's sort of a shame that, certainly in my case, I do have so many pieces of music which I haven't finished. Next, number 6, brush up your music theory. You do not need a formal music education in order to make music. This is one of the great advantages of modern music production systems. However, I think most people would probably agree that if you do know something about music theory, then this will really help in your productions. So if your knowledge of music theory is a little bit shaky, perhaps this is something you could improve and brush up on. There are hundreds of videos on YouTube explaining all aspects of music theory, and this is a very passive pastime. You don't have to actually do anything, you just have to watch and listen and hopefully learn. And although you don't need to know everything about music in order to create or compose music, I think you will find that a good solid knowledge of music theory will help in the composition process going forward. Next, number 7, tidy your studio. Yes, I know this could be a bit of a controversial one. I think it's always nice to work in a tidy environment, and if you have cables and gizmos lying around your studio, you might feel better about your work environment if you tidy up a little bit. However, tidying up may not be absolutely necessary. I've made another video about that, so if you want to know whether or not you should tidy up your studio, check out this video. As always, thank you so much for watching. I will see you again soon in the next video.